Hello, welcome to 24 Washington Avenue. This is my Singer 15K80. I bought it in London when I resided there over a decade ago, and it moved with me when I relocated to the United States. It came with this lovely manual that was perfectly preserved, thanks largely in part to an oil spill that had taken place in one of the drawers. The other manuals I've seen have generally had rather tattered and frayed pages, but this one is in immaculate condition. I hope to go through the basics of this machine in some detail, following the instructions as listed by the manufacturer, and hope that you will find it of use, or if nothing else, of interest. The first thing that Singer recommend is that the user practices operation of the treadle machine without the actual sewing mechanisms engaged. So reading from the book, balance wheel stop motion. This device allows the balance wheel to run free so that bobbins may be wound and the correct method of treadling acquired without operating the stitching mechanism. To loosen the wheel, hold it with the left hand, and with the right hand turn the stop motion screw over towards you as shown in figure 1. And that is what it looks like. And I shall now demonstrate. Left hand on top of the wheel, right hand holding the stop wheel mechanism and turning it to me, over the top to me, which disengages the sewing mechanism. So the wheel can be operated using the treadle without the needle going up and down. Now if I tighten that, turning it away from me over the top, now you can see that the sewing mechanism has been engaged. So once again turned toward me over the top, it is now disengaged, and this allows the user to get a good feel for the treadle motion at slow speeds and at fast speeds, stopping and starting. It's important to know that the wheel should always turn over the top toward you, never away from you. They go on to write that once a person is familiar with the working movement, one might tighten the balance wheel by turning the stop motion screw from you and placing a piece of material under the presser foot, lower the latter by means of a lifter, and again work the machine without its being threaded until you are accustomed to guiding the material. So here's my fabric in place. I have engaged the mechanism over at the flywheel. Fabric is under the presser foot. I will now use the lifter at the rear to lower the presser foot. My needle is not threaded, and now I will begin to operate the machine to get a gauge for guiding the material underneath of the presser foot. Were I to turn a corner, I would pause with the needle in the down position, lift the presser foot using the lifter, turn my fabric, lower the presser foot, and continue. Again, ensuring that the flywheel turns over the top toward me, never away from me. Next, for the instructions on setting the needle for the first time. Raise the needle bar to its highest point and loosen the thumb screw. So that's at its highest point, thumb screw is loosened. Hold the needle with the left hand and with its flat side to the right, insert it into the needle clamp as far as it will go, then retighten the screw. And I'm turning it now to ensure that the flat side is pointing to the right, then inserting it underneath as far as it will go, taking care not to poke myself, and then retightening the thumb screw. So they wish for you to turn the balance wheel until the lever is at its highest. So this is at its highest. My thread is on top of the spool pin on top of the machine. I now take the thread, pass it through the back of the machine, over the notch, down between the tension discs, from the back, between the discs, up over the thread guard, which is this L-shaped piece here, from behind, into the loop of the spring. The spring is right here. Up through the hole in the end of the lever from the back, down into the guide, which if you just hold the thread, there's a notch on this side and it will pass in. It's not a complete circle, so if you just pull it up against the front, it will slip into place. You don't have to thread it through the hole. Into the second guide, which is down here by the needle, and then from left to right you may thread through the eye of the needle. So once again, the thread passes over this notch at the back, between the tension discs, from the back, underneath, over the top, and over the guard, then through the spring, which I just pass it down the side here, underneath. I tend to hold the thread back because it provides just enough tension to allow you to catch the spring. Then through the hole in the lever from back to front, through the first of the thread guides, and again you can just create some tension and pull toward the back and it will slip in there. Once again, just tension, pull toward the back and it will slip in. And then down through the thread guard at the front, and then you are able to thread the needle from left to right. Removing the bobbin case and bobbin. Turn the balance wheel toward you until the take-up lever is at its highest point. So this is the same position as when we were threading the needle. Draw open the slide in the bed of the machine, and with the thumb and forefinger of the left hand, open the latch and withdraw the bobbin case. So here's the manual. This is the latch that is pulled out to release the bobbin casing from the pin and allow it to be pulled out. So just to show, there's the lever. So I'd reach in and grab that with my finger. It will release, and then the bobbin casing comes out. I shan't cover winding the bobbin at the moment. However, we will discuss threading the bobbin case. You simply take the bobbin with the thread passing away from you over the top, pass it into the case, take the tail, pass it through the slot, around toward the back, keeping tension applied. It will slot into place. It just pulls right into place. So again, the tail away from you, over the top, into the case, and I usually just hold it pinched with my thumb and index finger so that it doesn't pull out. Turn it so that the thread goes through that slot, pull it back, and it will just loop into place. So now the bobbin case is threaded and can be reinserted below the machine. Drop the tail into the belly of the sewing machine, close the cover, and then to pull the thread up, simply hold the tail from the needle, lower the needle. When it reaches its highest point, pull on the tail, and it will pull the thread up from the bobbin, and now you have two threads ready to sew. The stitch length regulator allows the user to change the length of the stitch. It is controlled through this screw here. In its uppermost position, it provides the longest stitch, and pushed all the way to the bottom, it barely moves at all. It simply goes up and down. There is no backwards and forwards motion. You may see that with the screw in its lowest position, the feed dogs simply go up and down. There is no backwards and forwards motion. Whereas if I turn the screw and lift it all the way to the uppermost position, now you can see there is a very clear forwards and backwards motion where the feed dogs would be coming up, applying pressure to the fabric, moving it backwards, and then dropping down. If I move the stitch length selector about halfway, you can see as I move it, the distance that it travels towards the back changes. So now in a medium position, there is still a moderate amount of forwards and backwards movement, but far less than in the uppermost position. Now to demonstrate those stitches, I have a black piece of cloth here so that the white thread will be clearly visible. This is with the stitch selector in its uppermost position. Now moving it down to the middle, down even further, and I won't move it all the way down to the bottom because there will be nothing to see. So now to remove my fabric, I simply pull it to the back, sever the threads, and now you can see where I started out, there is the initial stitch transitioning to a medium length stitch, transitioning to a super small stitch, and with the feed dogs disengaged, or not moving forwards and backwards at least, a person would be able to do free motion embroidery, buttonholing and other such tasks where you do not wish to have that forwards and backwards motion. As with any mechanical device, maintenance is of critical importance. Various oiling points can be found on the machine, on the bobbin winder, including the underside. Generally speaking, I will turn the hand wheel and look for anything that's moving, any points where there is any kind of motion, and I will give it a generous oiling, ensuring that I have a cloth underneath to catch any drips, and I will give it a quick rub afterwards to make sure that there is no oil left to attract fibers or dust and make a mess of the underside of my machine. From the manual, the oiling points are clearly identified, including instructions on the best positioning of the machine in order to oil the various points. So that's on the underside, and you must make sure that you disengage the belt on the treadle before trying to rotate the machine back, because the tension in that belt will stop your machine from moving. As they say, neglect to oil the machine and you will shorten its life and find yourself faced with lots of trouble and annoyance.